Today, we're going to crack open a math textbook from 1971. But we're not here for the formulas. Nope, we're here for its surprisingly timeless and, well, humane philosophy on how we learn. And honestly, it might just change the way you think about math for good. So let me ask you this. Do you ever see an equation and just feel your shoulders tense up? Or maybe you get that little sense of dread? If so, you're definitely not alone. And the author of this book from way back, Serge Lang, he totally got it. He knew that feeling all too well. You see, this wasn't just some throwaway line in the intro. This was his mission statement. This book wasn't just about how to solve problems. It was a genuine attempt to fix our whole relationship with the subject itself. Okay, so let's dive into this because this is where it gets really interesting. Right there in the foreword, he lays out a bunch of principles that feel less like rules for a classroom and more like a manifesto for intellectual freedom, for real curiosity. And this right here is the core of his whole idea. And it's kind of radical. He believed learning shouldn't be this rigid, straight line from chapter 1 to the end. He actually tells you, hey, skip around, follow what interests you. But most importantly, he tells you to trust your own mind. This is all about building confidence, not just memorizing a bunch of steps. So, how does this all work in practice? Well, a huge part of his philosophy was about breaking down the artificial walls we build between different areas of math. Lang was convinced they were often just different languages trying to describe the very same ideas. And this slide, this just captures that idea perfectly. I mean, look, on the left, you've got Pythagoras' theorem straight out of geometry class. On the right, you have the distance formula from algebra. Now, they look different, right? But the distance formula is really just the Pythagorean theorem slapped onto a coordinate grid. It is the exact same concept, just in a different outfit. And that quote just nails his core belief. You know, true understanding, it doesn't come from learning a bunch of isolated facts in separate little boxes. It comes from seeing the connections, the big picture, and how all these ideas just fit together so beautifully. The author was also a huge champion of elegant thinking over just mindless, repetitive calculation. And he wasn't afraid to use a little humor to get his point across, which, let's be honest, is not something you see in a math textbook very often. He actually walks you through this super tedious process of trying to find the square root of 2. You know, you try 1.4, nope, too small. Okay, 1.5, whoops, too big. Then you try 1.41, 1.42. You keep adding decimal places, you get closer and closer, but you never actually land on 2. And then he just hits you with this. He says, the procedure is a bummer. I mean, how refreshingly honest is that? Then, right after, he gives this short, elegant proof that shows why it's literally impossible. The point is crystal clear. Insight and real understanding, they're so much more valuable than just endless, frustrating work. And this just brings us right back to that core idea of his manifesto. A book has to be printed in order, page 1, page 2, and so on. But your brain? Your mind doesn't have to follow that path. He's actively encouraging you to jump ahead, to go back, to let your gut guide you, because your brain is the most powerful learning tool you've got. So, okay, this is all really fascinating stuff from a 50-year-old textbook. But what's the real takeaway here? Especially now with all the online courses and tutorials we have, what's the bigger lesson? Well, it's that the whole point of learning math, or really any subject, isn't just to become a calculator that spits out the right answers. It's about developing your intuition, appreciating elegance when you see it, and ultimately forming your own intellectual taste. It's about learning how to think. And he leaves us with this final thought, which is just so empowering. A great teacher doesn't want to create a clone of themselves. No. Their real success is inspiring you to become an independent thinker with your own unique way of seeing the world. And that's a lesson that goes way, way beyond any single textbook.